Hello, and welcome to the War in the Pacific. It is the 26th of January, 1942, in the Wirraway versus Encircled play-by-mail campaign. Here we're just offloading supplies for our minor invasion of Jolo. So it looks like a S-boat is operating in the Indian Ocean off Rangoon. Uh, Destroyer Minesweeper 19 finished sweeping mines at Rangoon and was returning to Victoria Point when it stumbled across the S-boat in shallow water. So Tambor hits Aoba, who was withdrawing from covering the Port Moresby. I'm sorry. Uh, Aoba is still heavy cover for Port Moresby invasion. She has enough ammo after the fight with Phoenix yesterday, and she runs across Tambor. I think there are two or three uh, U.S. submarines operating off Port Moresby. So far, they haven't been able to hit or put a working torpedo into anything. Row 33 gets a shot, and one of its torpedoes does not work. Not a great day for the submarine forces so far on either side. Okay, so our invasion of Port Moresby goes in. Going to speed through this. Typical amphibious losses. A minor invasion of southern Sumatra. Plan here is once we wrap up Sorabaja in a couple turns, we'll drop two armor regiments. Our amphibious, we'll drop two armor regiments, finishing that thought on southern Sumatra, and let them run amok. Won't put any more combat power, see the need into Sumatra at this point, and we won't try to do an amphibious invasion directly in Palembang because I believe he's mined it heavily, and no reason to go about it that way. So our amphibious invasion, Diego Garcia, goes in unopposed. Other than mines, one of our light cruiser hits a mine after the minesweepers detect the minefield. We'll see how badly damaged she is. Second phase of unloading Port Moresby. So, as is typical, uh, our transports draw some fire, and often that's deadly to them. Looks like I-3 is gonna sink transport, presumably resupplying Midway. So our 162 misses AKB Athena. So again, submarine forces generally haven't been very successful today for either side. So some AMCs retreating from Singapore to North Borneo. Glenn's pick up what looks like normal activity in the Northern Pacific. So we'll see if he decided to oppose my landings at Port Moresby with Banshees. That's um, probably the key risk here. He has no cap over his forces in Burma. Again, he does not like facing sweeps with cap. So Nels hit the Chinese division there. Here, my Sonias are trying to slow the movement of the 93rd Chinese Corps, uh, hoping we can defeat the Chinese in the adjacent hex before the 93rd arrives. So we continue our bombing runs on Tunggu. So all they're finding here at the moment are Chinese units. I'm not sure that's true. I think the first Burma division is still there. The sweeps come in after our attacks in Baja, but he hasn't tried to oppose anything there. Sally's hitting the Australians at Kopang. Starting to see some destroyed squads there. Okay, the Allied Air Force doesn't do anything in the AM phase. Yeah, so Burma Command is at Tunggu. And again, I think the First Burma Division is there. We'll see if he decides to counterattack this turn and throw out my armor regiment there. He's had the opportunity over the last couple of days and he hasn't taken it. Oh, Catalina's bombing empty transports successfully. Good Sally's trying to slow up the movement of that core and attrit it at the same time. More Sallies, more Lilies. Okay, pretty quiet in terms of enemy activity. So Plunger operating off the New Hebrides. So these two destroyers are actually escorting a fast battleship. So it's good to see Plunger didn't identify the fast battleship. Okay, so I-162 does get in a hit into AKB Athena. She could certainly make Karachi. We'll see if she does. Yamakaze is struggling to survive. If you recall, Yamakaze was damaged in the scuffle with Phoenix and her escorts yesterday. Not getting any major warnings from the light cruiser that hit the mine off Diego Garcia. That's good. So I think there's two wrecked core left in the hex, but again they've been holding the hex for reinforcement. So okay, we hopefully calibrated this attack. Oh, we did not. Destroyed all the units instead of forcing them to retreat. So we won't get the bonus move. Interesting. So the air attack and heavy bombardment by three battleships destroyed the RN base force at Diego Garcia. So our the 104th Infantry Regiment essentially just found um, shocked defenders. continue to recover damaged squads. Okay, so we have approximately 3-1 at Port Moresby. That should be adequate to take the base without reinforcement, though it won't it won't be a quick fight. The defenders have nowhere to retreat, so they will fight until their death. This trapped unit continues to hold out against the TIE units. The buildup in the Kurils continues. If you saw that message of the fortification increase at Pershimachima, and we'll speed through the end of the turn. So, relatively quiet turn. We can start off in the Aleutians. Fast transport is returning after dropping off a construction company. Let's see. Looks like probably Canadian escort frigates, corvettes of Kodiak. Jump to the South Pacific. So that one transport that row 33 missed is still there. Presumably these are engineers at Value. We're offloading more supplies at Suva as our units recover, ready for next phase of operations to take the remaining Tonga Islands. I'm undecided about moving on Pago Pago. It's worth a lot of points, but it's actually um, and it could be built up to a level 7 airfield. So I probably will move on Pago Pago if the situation permits. I should be able to drive the circumstances to make that possible. We'll see. We talked about this a few days ago. We're building up Luganville as our base of operations for our continued advances in SOPAC and eventually defense of SOPAC. This is just a supply convoy or single ship with a destroyer escort that had been resupplying Numier. So let's check and see the condition of our forces. So it looks like the 9th Infantry Regiment lost 1 squad. While the 20th lost 4 squads. Nothing devastating here. Lost a motorized squad of the 16th Recon. And the engineers lost a squad. All in all, good landing, veteran troops, light on artillery. But these regiments do have some decent sized guns in them. but we'll probably be on the short side of any artillery duel with the Aussies there. And as said, since there's no valid retreat path, I can check. I don't think Maruk uh, is a valid retreat path, but perhaps it is. It depends on counting the terrain between. But my suspicion is it's not, and that these troops will end up having to be destroyed. Let's check at Kopang, see how the recovery is going of our units. Getting closer. Again, might have to reinforce, and we'll have to move on Sorabaja for the final battle there. Take Osthaven, we talked about that, and then uh, use armor to take Palembang, and run up the coast with a light tank unit to wrap up the rest of these bases. Or I could use paratroopers. These could potentially use paratroopers. Eventually, we'll have to take these bases along the coast too. Not a priority at the moment. So minesweeping has begun at Singapore. These ships, it looks like he's still trying to operate successfully out of Miri and Brunei. Nels every once in a while get a bomb hit on his ships here, but we've got a good firm eye on everything going here. Um, he he can launch these destroyers to raid Singapore, raid Cameron Bay, raid Saigon. So uh, getting rid of them, um, while not critical, is something I want to accomplish in the coming days. Meanwhile, our invasion forces assemble for northern Luzon and assemble for our drive up from Mindanao. And this veteran special naval landing force unit should be able to take out this remnant, these two platoons of Philippine infantry. So that's in good shape. Let's check and see. Yes, so he hasn't decided to drive out this light tank regiment. I think the recon regiment will arrive this turn, while the rest of the units are still struggling through the jungle. In China, is down to just two corps there, with another corps potentially arriving anytime. There's 50,000 troops here, but a lot of these are just the wrecked units that have been driven back over the last week of fighting. We're expanding Nanyang as an air base, so we can continue to project air power north of Xi'an. I think the rest of our units are still closing in on Hami. Diego Garcia fell. Let's check on that light cruiser. She's not in any mortal danger. Notice the low fuel levels. We'll have to refuel, but I had them set not to refuel, to make sure we got into Diego Garcia in a timely manner. The bombardment task force is withdrawing. The carriers are covering. Looks like that submarine is withdrawing. Not sure why. Um, yeah, so this is a good outcome. The Diego Garcia operation suffered uh, almost no casualties, or at least so far. So all in all, um, relatively quiet turn, at least in terms of the allies, but we've just about achieved all of our phase one objectives now with Diego Garcia in our hands, uh, with Rangoon in our hands, Singapore in our hands, Java all but completely in our hands. Timor remains the only, uh, well, yeah, Timor, two bases on Timor still uh, are yet to fall. Fort Moresby is probably going to be a protracted fight, but at least at the moment we're in good shape. The New Hebrides and New Caledonia, along with essentially all the Solomons, are in our hands. Suva is in our hands. And the Gilberts are in our hands, and we have a decent foothold in the Aleutians. So, in terms of operations outside of China, again, essentially all of our phase one objectives are either accomplished or in the final stages of being accomplished, which gives us lots of options in phase two. With our uh, base of operations in NORPAC, we could move further in the Aleutians and even into Alaska. Uh, Certainly, India is an option. Uh, Australia is always an option, but so is New Zealand. So, in terms of strategic options for phase two operations, our phase one accomplishments have set us up solidly and in a timely manner. It's still relatively early. It's not even the end of January yet. So, all very good. And look forward to the opening of the phase two campaigns in the coming days and weeks and seeing how Encircled attempts to counter those. I look forward to our next chance to talk.